Okay, we are live. So, for those listening at home, welcome to the Live from the Sword Coast podcast. My name is Kevin Madison, and I will be your friendly dungeon user today. This is my fourth participation or fourth entry into the Day event for 2018. For those unfamiliar with the event, this is a um, exercise where we are posting different, either on video blogs or on blogs, like written blogs, answers to different questions that are posed for each day in the month of August for 2018. Today's question, all the questions deal with role-playing games and playing games and whatnot. Today's question is, who is your most memorable NPC? And I am Yeah, I've got two things in mind. Well, one thing I'll mention is that I am trying to keep these videos to 10 minutes to keep this a manageable exercise this year. So I've got my clock running for myself. Um, Now, tomorrow's question is, who is your favorite recurring NPC? So I think what I'm going to do is I will divide out. I actually was thinking about talking about two different NPCs today that I've used in past campaigns, but I'll save the Magpie Knight for tomorrow. Today's NPC is a character from my Star Wars Fantasy Flight Star Wars game. That campaign ran for about 2.5, 1.5 years, and the characters were playing mostly rebels, but then it was sort of a grab bag of characters from the different versions, the three different Star Wars role playing games. On one of the missions, they were sent on. They had to go to a place called Hydara, which is a water world where the predominant living species was actually coral, because I kind of like that idea. I saw some documentary on coral, and there's this massive city where they had to go and meet up with this ally, and they were sort of warned that this not an ally, there was a contact. They were sort of warned the contact was um, a could be a bit of a problem, and the mechanics for the Star Wars role playing game are such that you use these narrative dice to sort of inform results, like whatever happens in the game. And they interestingly don't just measure success or fail; they measure quality of success or quality of failure. And you can have a success with negative consequences, or you can have a failure with some potential advantages for the next action, which is pretty cool. They also have a mechanic called triumphs and despairs, and one of the characters in the campaign, to understand who this NPC is, was a guy, a smuggler who had named Pash. Actually, it was a character. One of the players was using one of the default characters from one of the starter sets and just kind of liked the character enough and kept playing him. So Pash was a smuggler who had a foggy kind of backstory because he had lost his memory at some point. And so we show up, and the players meet up with this guy. Now, the NPC and their contact is a guy named Mon Calamari, kind of like a vintage droid dealer, like an antique dealer for droids, named Dr. Pakabar. And he's a Mon Calamari guy. And in my campaigns, I always do casting. And I had cast Dr. Pakabar as Paul Giamatti. So it was Paul Giamatti in a bunch of Mon Calamari makeup, who was basically playing his same, like Paul's character from the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes film. So he was just this like seedy, scuzzy, dealer who was greedy and what would betray people and whatever. And we talked about sort of like why the Rebel Alliance would deal with this guy, because the characters or players were kind of like, well, why the fuck would we deal with this guy? And I said, like, well, what you could guess is that the value of this guy is because he was an information broker as well. That's really what the value he had for the organization. And he, because he had such great access to information and sort of played both sides, both the Imperials and the Rebels let him carry on. Hydara wasn't under direct Imperial control, or it wasn't part of the rebellion. So it just proved a good location for him, and he was a great information broker. What it also meant is that you could kind of rely on him to potentially sell you out as well, depending on whether the value is greater to for one side or the other. So that was the sort of setup as we went in. We go in and immediately I don't know if the player of our resident Jedi was having a bad day, but he immediately started trying to like bully Pakabar, and it just I had decided beforehand that Pachyvar wasn't going to be having any of that, and he also happened in his like display case too. He had two, antique droidicas, which at a touch of a button suddenly came to life, and the players found themselves facing or potentially facing some droidica droids thanks to his. So then our Pash, our resident smuggler, steps forward and decides to try and smooth things over. So, and the player, it was terrific with this because he loved playing he loved role playing his character, even though his character's social skills were fucking horrible. So it was always amusing because there was always poor results that came from that stuff. But anyway, the character goes forward and he says his spiel and whatnot. And I'm like, all right, that sounds fine. Go ahead and make your roll. I wanted them to sort of get things moving. And so I think I said the difficulty is fairly low, but I think I might have, no, because Pachyvar had at least one skill, which meant there was at least one red dice in the dice pool, which meant there was a potential of a despair. And of course, what came up was a despair. So we had this great moment where Pachyvar turned to him and his eyes narrowed, those two big bug eyes. And he looks at Pash and he says, Pash. And immediately we knew there was some big backstory that between the two where Pash had fucked him over at some point. And the character kept rolling with it. And then the adventure carried on. They were on Hydara for quite a bit. There was the usual kind of hijinks that happens in a Star Wars game. And and then they ended up managing to leave Hydara with their stuff and whatnot, but they left Dr. Pachyvar behind, alive and well. And the thing that I found memorable, about him was it wasn't a character they had to just like bully or whatever else. It wouldn't. There were ways to get Pachyvar to work, but it was through specific, easily identifiable incentives. Like he was a greedy man, so he was. If you could do stuff to his advantage, then that would work. You couldn't just bully him. You couldn't just pressure him. You couldn't cajole him. And and then the added result of having there being this backstory where Pachyvar had bad blood with one of the PCs was just terrific. And also, I love doing my poor man's Paul Giamatti impression with Dr. Pachyvar, so I had a lot of fun playing that character. And so I mean, that's, I think, the most recent campaigns, that's probably one of the most memorable. The character I'm going to talk about, favorite recurring tomorrow, also was a quite memorable character as far as the players are concerned, because of how they responded to that particular character. But that will be a story for tomorrow. So that's my answer for today's question for what's the most memorable NPC, and that's just the one in most recent memory. As always, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, or if you want to share a story about your most memorable NPC, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section below, or you can reach me on Twitter at Dungeon Musings. That's Dungeon Musings, all one word, plural on musings. Or you can send me an email at dungeonmusings@gmail.com. Last thing I'll mention too is that we are doing a charity fundraising initiative on the channel called Heroes Save Villages, where we are asking viewers to consider donating to the SOS Children's Villages International charity. You can find information about the campaign in the one of the links below, where you can actually donate as well. And we've got a couple cool rewards available there. One particularly cool, where if you donate $100 or more to the campaign, which goes straight to the charity, I will run a 4-hour session for you. And there's also a link to a video that explains my reason for setting up the charity initiative too, for the Heroes Save Villages. So again, it's not mandatory by any means. I just ask that if it is something that sounds intriguing to you, that you click through and consider making a donation to that very worthy charity. So that's coming up in my 10 minutes, so I think I'll cut the video there. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you again tomorrow for tomorrow's question and tomorrow's story about the Magpie Knight. Thanks. We'll see you then.